This is the history of the Denton Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Our fellowship began informally after World War II. In the late 40s, 12 to 15 people met in each other's homes to discuss religious ideas. Most came from other churches, but one couple, Ken and Eleanor Loomis, were Unitarians already. The group was not called Unitarian. We would be entirely lay-led for over 30 years. It wasn't that our founders couldn't afford a minister, they simply saw no need for one. Our building. In 1954, the Denton Unitarian Fellowship was legally incorporated. The minister of the Fort Worth Church helped us organize the fellowship and Sunday school classes. The adult group and children's classes were still meeting in members' homes. Ken Loomis chaired the search committee for land, and the original 2 lots were purchased. The fellowship soon reached the 30 pledging members necessary for an AUA building loan. Tom Miller and Isabel Mount Miller were the architects of our building. Other Mount Miller work, both original and restoration designs, remain throughout the city of Denton. Our sanctuary is named in honor of Tom and Isabel. This is the master site plan envisioned by Tom and Isabel. Subsequent floodplain determination made the plan unattainable, but the vision for a vibrant, thriving congregation of liberal religion in Denton, Texas continues to this day. This is the cornerstone found on the front of the building to the left of the front door. It is one of a series of fired tiles representing religious traditions throughout time. This is how our building appeared in 1959, shortly after completion, when Fulton Street and Cordell Street were on the northwest edge of the city. A building expansion created the Fellowship Office and Religious Education Wing. In 1982, the term Universalist was inserted in the name of the fellowship. President Carla Crisford made this possible. The expansion was completed in 1984. Along with hallway joining the main building, porch, and our first off-street ecological parking lot. Our original sign was carefully preserved and painted by longtime member and craftsman Barney Casimo. The memorial wall located on the west side of the sanctuary was constructed in 1990. The large plaque remembers a founding member of the congregation, Kenneth Loomis. The names of many people who have played important roles in this fellowship can be found on the memorial wall. Jackie Wolin Gibbons is a former president of the congregation. Jackie played a central role in the life of our fellowship for many years. Actively involved in our women's group, religious education, and small group ministry. She is especially remembered for her contributions to worship and music. Ruth Clark was influential in building a Unitarian Universalist presence in North Texas. She was the first paid director of religious education in the Southwest Conference. Ruth was honored as the UU of the Year in 1977. That award hangs in the RE wing of the Denton congregation. In 1987, she and husband Harold retired to Denton, where they joined the Denton Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, and Ruth remained a part of the congregation until her death in 2009, shortly after giving her blessing to naming the staff award in her honor. Genevieve Scott was a 30-year member of our congregation and a former fellowship president. She was also benefactor of the fellowship hall and kitchen renovation and the sanctuary expansion. Barney Casimo is a former president of the congregation, longtime member and craftsman. He served as the general contractor on the fellowship hall and kitchen remodel, in addition to many years of service in maintaining our building. Jerry Veter has been a member of our board. Jerry is and continues to be a strong presence on the worship committee. Her creativity produced many remarkable lay-led services over the years. Eric Posa is a former member and past congregational president. He was sponsored and ordained in 2005 by the Denton congregation upon graduation from Bright Divinity School. Reverend Posa has served pulpits in College Station, in San Antonio, Texas, Greensboro, North Carolina, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Judy Smith is a longtime member, artisan, and designer who owns and operates Rose Costumes in Denton, Texas. Judy was recently profiled in the Thin Line Film Festival documentary entitled Secondhand Rose. Judy is the artist behind our chancel decorations, name tag area, welcome cart, and much more. In the 1980s, the fellowship began to consider the possibility of a part-time minister through the UUA Extension Ministry Program. The fellowship had 3 part-time extension ministers who each served 2 to 3 years: Reverend Bob Hill, Reverend Marjorie Montgomery, and Reverend Frank Carpenter. The fellowship's first called minister was Reverend Suzanne Myers. We shared Reverend Myers with the Oak Cliff Church from March 1986 through August 1988. Reverend Don Fielding also worked as a half-time settled minister for the fellowship. Don Fielding's retirement was a turning point in the life of this fellowship as the congregation began working toward the goal of a full-time settled ministry. During the process of pursuing full-time settled ministry, the fellowship engaged the services of several part-time consulting ministers. Reverend Jace Kahn served the fellowship from 2004 to 2006. Co-ministers and newlyweds, Reverend Diana Heath and Reverend Bill Metzger, began serving the fellowship in 2007. Unfortunately, Reverend Metzger died before completing the second year of that ministry. Reverend Heath served the congregation on her own until August 2010. In September 2010, the congregation hired Reverend Pam Watt. In an historic vote on May 20, 2012, the fellowship called Reverend Pam as its first full-time minister, and Reverend Pam was formally installed on March 30, 2014. The character of our fellowship is reflected in many symbols and places. One of those is the wayside pulpit sign. Former member John Meredith rings the bell as the call to worship. The bell is made from a dive tank and is decorated in a motif of Texas bluebonnets. This bell is rung each Sunday and in other gatherings as we prepare our hearts and minds for worship. As Reverend Fielding claps, Mike Ellsbury holds a chalice made by member, past president, and artist Harlan Butt. We are a welcoming congregation. In 2002, the Denton congregation took formal steps to become a welcoming congregation to indicate that we are welcoming and inclusive of people of all sexual orientations and gender identities. Rhonda Love, community social justice activist, former member of the Board of Trustees, celebrates the water communion at Ingathering. This service marks the beginning of the church year for many Unitarian Universalist congregations. Tom and Isabel Miller collaborated on the design and installation of this playwall located in Denton's Quakertown Park. The playwall is dedicated to Betty Jane Blazer, member and a beloved Sunday school teacher at the fellowship. The living tradition is the Unitarian Universalist hymn book. It contains hymns, songs, and readings from around the world. Denton Unitarian Universalist Fellowship's membership book holds all the signatures of those who have joined the fellowship. Our fellowship banner is one of many that make up the parade of banners that takes place at the annual UUA General Assembly. It's fitting that the center of that banner contains the image of our fellowship.